It's a Sunday gymnastics competition at Yale University here in New Haven, Connecticut. It's the first home meeting for the Bulldogs as they welcome the Brown Bears in their first competition of this spring 2023 campaign. Thank you for joining us this afternoon alongside former Ohio State gymnast Paris McGee Jr. I'm Brandon Ross. Paris, these are a couple of young head coaches in the sense that they're really just getting the grasp of the helm of their teams. What do you think we're going to be looking for, especially for Brittany Harris, who is in her first season coaching these Bears?
You know, on the Bears side, they're going to be looking for building a new team culture. This is first-year head coach Harris, first year with the team, and so she's really going to be looking just to build a great relationship with her girls, really for helping them to be able to really trust and believe in her as she believes in them.
Making the transition from Centenary College in Louisiana. Meanwhile, Andy Lees knows this program. He took over as the year, and now he has gotten the full-time head coach title. Not the best result last weekend against LIU, but looking to pick things up.
Yes, most definitely. Speaking with Coach before the competition, he said that they're really going to be trying to hit every routine, and they're going to try to go 24 for 24. Last weekend, they didn't have their best showing against LIU, but again, it's very early in the season, and there is still plenty of time for them to pick up the pace and really perform some amazing routines.
They're doing practice rotations right now. Here's the overall layout of today's event. The first two events are going to be vault and bars. The first rotation, it will be Brown on the bars, Yale on the vault, and vice versa for rotation 2. And then 3 and 4 will be beam and floor, with Brown starting on the floor and Yale on the beam. This is the first look at Brown this year. They did not compete last weekend. This is their first meet of this spring 2023 season. Meanwhile, for Yale, they did not get the best result against LIU last weekend. They're going with mostly the same competitors, but in this first rotation, they are going to have Gigi Sabatini competing, which wasn't the case a weekend ago.
Yeah, Gigi will be competing on vault for the first time, and vault is more of a weaker event for the Bulldogs. It is an event where they don't have a lot of depth, but they will be looking to pick up the pace as the season progresses. They do, however, have Reagan Walker. Walker is a phenomenal gymnast on this event, and she is the reigning national collegiate gymnast, CGA gymnast on this event. So that would be a big, huge vault to look at for the Bulldogs in their first rotation.
Walker did lead the team with a 9.625 a weekend ago, but as a team, that's where they started off on the wrong foot. Fell a full point behind, and it was hard to make that up as the weekend, or as the event progressed. So again, it'll be Brown on the bars to start, Yale on the vault for this first rotation.
And I'm very excited to see Brown in this competition. This is their first meet of the season under their new head coach Harris, and she was a phenomenal gymnast in college herself. She was a part of the 2010 and 2013 Pac-12 championship winning team with Oregon State, and she knows what to do to win. So it'll be very interesting to see how these girls come out for the Bears in the first competition of the season.
Competed in the NCAA championships as an individual all-arounder in her junior year. Worked her way across the country in her assistant roles, ending up as an assistant at Lindenwood, and as previously mentioned, the head coach of Centenary College in Louisiana, coached a couple All-Americans there, and now for this first season, getting introduced as the new head coach of the Brown Bears. So we're about to get underway with Yale on the vault and Brown on the bars. Taking a look at who will be competing for each side. Brown on the bars, it'll be Lauren Lazaro, Maya Davis, Lauren McEwen, Ella Poli, Abby Contello, Asta Solia, Farrell, Paige Richter, and Umi El Mamin will go as exhibitionists. Meanwhile, for Yale, the competitors on the vault will be Riley Meeks, Sarah Wilson, Oren Aviad, Amy Tichy, Reagan Walker, and Gigi Sabatini, competing this weekend after not competing in the event a weekend ago against LIU. So what are you really looking for in this first event in terms of who's going to set the tone as we're running out on this clock in the practice rotation here?
You know, your first event really sets the tone and the mood for the rest of the competition. So you really just want to go out there and just put down routines that you know you can perform. Good, clean routines that you can land securely and safely onto your feet.
Clock has run out, and we are just about ready to go. Again, the first meeting of this season for Brown. It'll be on the road here in New Haven, Connecticut. Yale falling more than 4 points short at LIU, their first Ivy League matchup of this season. So it'll be interesting to see how this all pans out. It's Youth Day here. Got a good scattering of the youngins. A couple of them came out during the player introductions, so they get a good glimpse of some of the highest levels of college gymnastics here in New Haven. Brown getting set to get started on the uneven bars. So what are you looking for Brown specifically? You mentioned off the top, Brittany Harris trying to implement that culture. How do you start that off right out the jump here in this event?
You know, I think what these girls can do on the uneven bars is simply to just perform how they do in practice. They're practicing very hard in the gym day in and day out, and that's what they're going to want to do here in competition. Don't do anything more, don't do anything less. Just simply put down a great routine that you know you can perform.
And so getting things started here will be Lauren Lazaro, senior all-arounder from Wellesley, Massachusetts.
Being in that first leadoff spot, it's not easy because you're the gymnast responsible for setting the tone for the rest of your gymnasts to follow. So the leadoff position is a very, very strong and important position for your team.
Was a second-team all-conference honoree in just her first season with the Bears. Last year competed in 13 meets. Beam is her specialty, but being tasked with setting the tone right out the gate here on uneven bars. The first of the 6 for Brown, as they are getting set to go. Meanwhile, for Yale, they will get started with Riley Meeks, junior from Doylestown, Pennsylvania.
And the Michigan native got off to a great start. That was a great Yurchenko layout. One of the more simpler vaults that we will see in competition. But again, you want your first leadoff gymnast to be able to perform a routine that is consistent and clean. And that's what she did.
One down for Yale, and Lazaro getting ready to go. For Brown over on the bars. Again, this is the first of the 4 rotations. These two sides will swap after this first go around.
That was a nice pike Jaeger. A little bit of a form break, but she did successfully make the catch. Beautiful full pirouette to immediate double tuck dismount, and just a little short, had to put her hands down.
That'll be something to watch for when it comes to the scoring of what we just witnessed. Again, the landing. Time to get a little hand support there, yeah.
She didn't get enough rotation to successfully land back on her feet. Hopefully the Browns can throw away that score with 5 stronger routines after.
So here's Maya Davis.
And that was a huge vault. Yurchenko tuck full twist to a stuck landing. And I believe that was Sarah Wilson.
Yes, excuse me, my apologies. I was getting my teams mixed up. Maya Davis is set to go next for Brown over on the bars.
That was actually a great vault, and it's not easy twisting in a tuck position. Here you can see again, strong run, great block off the table, and just plants that feet to that mat. That was a great, great vault. The Yale Bulldogs are off to a phenomenal start in this first rotation.
Now here's Maya Davis, the sophomore from Brooklyn, New York. Keep an eye on Wilson. She was the only one to go all around on either side in last weekend's competition, therefore getting the individual all-around title. Got a 9.6 on the vault 1 weekend ago. That's the bar she's going to try to surpass today.
And I think she can. That was, I mean, you can't get any better than that. You know, that was pretty much a textbook Yurchenko tuck full vault. Beautiful tuck position in the air, strong twist. stuck the landing, that's definitely going to score higher than a 9-7.
Still awaiting in the scores on what the first tally was for Lauren Lazaro over on the bars. Riley Meeks got 9.475 on her first go around on the vaults. Just keeping tabs on these scores as they come in. Maya Davis still getting ready to go here in first meet of her sophomore season. Competed in 4 meets last year, mostly on the beam and floor, so this is not where she's used to competing at this level.
And this will be a test for her. She did have to wait quite some time to get started, and especially going after a fall, the pressure does pick up. And she just overshoots that handstand. So unfortunately, the Bears will have to count a fall, whether it's this routine or the routine that we just saw.
And kind of contextualize, how much does that put the Bears on their heels when it comes to the scoring?
You know, pretty much you have to be close to perfection. Yale is starting off strong. They put down 2 strong vaults. Vaulting is a more relatively easier event than uneven bars. But again, the Yale Bulldogs are putting on the pressure in this competition. So moving forward, the Bears will really have to be close to perfection in order to keep up with Yale in this competition.
Maya Davis will get another go around here after a quick conference with her head coach, Brittany Harris. And this is the first meet for her as the head coach of these Bears.
And Maya is a beautiful gymnast on this event. She has exceptional lines, a beautiful toe point. I think the first couple of errors she had was simply her trying to be perfect. In gymnastics, we chase for perfection.
Caught a piece of the other bar on the way down that seemed to have thrown her off a little bit.
Yes, most definitely. She didn't get a chance to finish her routine. Hopefully the Bears can improve with the next one.
So Lauren Lazaro, when she went, got an 8.85. Here we go with Oren Aviad.
And she...
Ute here at the JLA in New Haven. Got a lot of kids in attendance watching on. And so far, the home side seems to have started strong. A little stumble there on the end from Aviad, but you know, a great start from her teammates. Riley Meeks a 9.475 her first go around. Sarah Wilson clocking a 9.8.
Yes, she did stumble on that vault. That is one that hopefully the Yale Bulldogs can throw away if they continue to put down stronger vaults. You can see here she didn't get the greatest block off the table, and unfortunately she was just a little too under-rotated and couldn't land. Back over on the bars, the Bears will really need to pick up the pace. They did have 2 falls already.
And trying to pick up the slack, it'll be the junior from Austin, Texas, Lauren McEwen.
But I have to say, I do believe in this Bears team. Speaking with Coach Harris prior to the competition, she said that the team has really been working on pressure routines. That means that in the gym, they are doing routines with added pressure, whether that means going in and you surprisingly have maybe more than one routine than previously planned. This Bears team has been working on pressure, being able to handle the pressure, and I do believe that from the mistakes that they had made in their first 2 routines previously.
It's their first chance to really get that test this year. It's their first competition. McEwen competed in the Junior Olympics National Championships back in 2018 and Again, primarily a beam competitor for these Bears. Getting ready to go around on the uneven bars. And this is the second time that it's been an unusually long wait for Brown to have to get going here.
Yeah, many of times when gymnasts do have to wait like this, it's because the judges have some sort of discrepancy between their judging. One judge may see something this way, the other judge may see something in a different way. And so it causes a bit of a long pause for the gymnast that has to go up next.
And here goes McEwen.
Starting off strong, good Takachev. Beautiful handstand position, back down to the low bars. Here she is gearing up for her dismount. Big swing to a nice double A and a beautiful dismount. That is a routine that the Bears needed.
That's going to be an enormous recovery for Brown after getting a fall on each of the first two competitors. A strong routine from McEwen.
Absolutely, that was a beautiful double A dismount. One of my personal favorite skills in gymnastics. You can see her with those cool shades. She definitely earned them after that strong routine.
Amy Tichy's turn to go for Yale.
And that was a great ball, a huge block off the table, Yurchenko full twist. So that was the same vault that we saw from Sarah Wilson, but this time she does it in a laid out position, which is even harder. Here you can see she gets a strong block off that table. Takes a bit of a large step, but again, that is not an easy vault to do. And so far, the hardest vault that we've seen in competition today.
And Yale some strong scores to get this one rolling. Still waiting that one to clock in, but Sarah Wilson leading the pack with a 9.8, Riley Meeks a 9.475, and Oren Aviad a 9.55 on her first go around, and that puts her well above her average on her first go from last weekend against LIU.
And again, we're still very early in the season, so we're not necessarily looking for those perfect routines that we'd want to look out for later in the season. This is only the second competition for Yale and the first for the Brown. So these gymnasts just kind of want to go out here and still kind of get their feet wet in competition mode.
Brown started a little slow on the bars, picked it up with that last routine from Lauren McEwen, and now Ella Poli gets her chance to log a go one senior from Newton, Massachusetts. One of the more experienced competitors on the Bears side. Both sides really loaded with first years and sophomores who haven't really gotten the chance to log full competitions. And this is a good opportunity for them to cement themselves, but also for the Bears trying to pick back up the points here on these routines. It'll be crucial that their experienced veterans get a good go around.
Absolutely. And again, the Bears on the uneven bars, they're really having to wait, which is, it's an unfortunate thing for these gymnasts. Many times right after the warm-ups, they're just ready to go. They're ready, set to go and compete. And so it's a little hard to have to sit and wait.
So they clarified that last score from McEwen. It went down as a 9.675. So far and away the best one, in the first one in the 9 range on the bars for Brown. Now Poli will try to follow.
And that was a huge Geiger. This is a good routine for the senior. Building off of that first routine that we just saw in the 9 range. And this will be another one, a beautiful full twisting double back to a stuck dismount. The Bears are picking up the pace after a rough start. Here's another look at that dismount. Strong swing, beautiful full twisting double tuck. And she just finds that landing and sticks that dismount.
Back-to-back strong performances on the bars for Brown. The question is, can they outperform those early mistakes? Reagan Walker, meanwhile.
And that was a beautiful vault. She does take a small hop forward, but that was the cleanest vault that we've seen today. A Yurchenko half twist. And here she is, beautiful body position, takes that full hop, small hop forward. But again, that's not an easy vault to do because as she's landing, she's not able to see the ground like Sarah Wilson was prior. So with that vault, it's even more difficult to land, and she does it so well.
Really good opening here for Yale on the vault during this first rotation. Now Abby Contello next up for Brown. Over on the bars, senior from Baldwinsville, New York, just outside of Syracuse.
Yeah, Mameda, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know the area. They got a great diner. It's 24/7. It's a great spot. Beeville Diner, if you're ever in the Syracuse area, check it out, obviously. I'm sure the Contellos are well familiar with it. So you see the score update, and we're still waiting on a couple of the competitors' scores for Brown over on the bars, so take that with a grain of salt. But, a couple of early slip-ups. That 9.675 from McEwen was a great recovery point.
And that was a huge Tkachev. She is swinging very aggressive on this event. Beautiful down to the low bar. Without a doubt, this will be the strongest and the highest scoring routine from the Browns today. A little short of that dismount, but that was a great routine, a beautiful double out. Beautiful body extension in the air. Takes a small hop forward, but she delivers.
With that score still pending, it is a total of 35-6. Ella Poli also got a 9.675. Gigi Sabatini, the final competitor in this event for Yale.
And that was the best vault that we have seen today from Yale. That was a beautiful Yurchenko full twist. Strong block off the table, nice body position. And the smallest hop forwards. That was great from such a young gymnast. That vault will score high, and the Yale Bulldogs are putting on the pressure, and head coach Andy's first year with the Bulldogs.
They're certainly getting some separation that they need. Reagan Walker's from a moment ago checked in at 9.75. Wow, that'll go in as a 9.85.
Hey, I mean, she deserved it. That was a great, great vault. The highest vault that we have seen today. Highest scoring vault.
We'll see if Brown can surpass it when they change rotations. And now Asta Celia Brown will cap this off for the Bears. Asta Celia Farrell, excuse me, will cap this off for Brown.
And she is a beautiful gymnast on this event. I mean, just absolute textbook, open shoulders, exceptional eyes, and that was a beautiful pack salt toe down to the low bar. I mean, she just absolutely takes her time on this event. Open shoulders, again, strong handstand position. Can she stick this dismount? And she does! This will be a huge routine for the Bears. Absolutely exceptional. Beautiful blind pull over on top of the bar to an immediate double tuck dismount, and that perfect landing. This can easily score in the 9.8. Such a strong routine for the Bears after a rough start on the uneven bars.
A strong cap off for Brown over on the bars. They have a couple of exhibitionists set to go, as does Yale here on the vaults. Megan Bruick set to go.
So as Brendan mentioned, she will be exhibitioning And simply when a gymnast exhibition, they're able to perform and compete in a routine without their scores actually counting or affecting the team's overall score. Oh, and she just sits that vault down, but that is actually the hardest vault that we've seen. I know you saw some gymnasts performing your Chanko full twist. Well, this vault is actually even harder because you're really having to punch onto that board and push off the table in that front entry.
So over on that last event, the final Brown bars routine, ready for a 9.85. So that is a huge score for the Bears to end with, especially following what was a rough start to the event.
Absolutely. That last bar routine it was just gorgeous. I mean, textbook, open shoulders, beautiful toe point, and a perfect dismount.
Now a couple of exhibitionists going for the Bears before we officially change rotations. This is Paige Richter.
And, you know, Paige actually didn't catch that in warm-up, so to see her catch it in competition, now that's huge. And it lets head coach Harris know that she can face that pressure.
And now the more you can get that experience under the belt, the more you can get the competition atmosphere, the better you will feel when you are put in the position where the weight is on your shoulders when you're part of that original six.
Absolutely. The way that routine just performed, hey, she might be in the lineup next week, so you never know.
Brown managing to catch up on a lot of ground with those strong late performances over on the bars. What was an enormous deficit with Maya Davis having to open up with a 7-4, now close the gap to where the scoring margin right now is less than one. 48-5-7-5 for Yale through vault, and Brown finishing bars with 47-7-2-5.
And again, it's still early in the competition. In gymnastics, anything can happen. So there are 3 other events that both teams will have to compete. And if Brown puts up some strong routines amid Yale possibly making some errors or mistakes, they're still in this competition.
Started with a 7-4 and an 8-8-5. All the rest 9-6-7-5 or better for Brown. Yale, though, still ahead through the first rotation. Sides will flip. Second rotation coming up next on ESPN+. One rotation in the books here in New Haven. Yale ahead of Brown as they switch between vault and bars. But Paris, Brown after a slow start over on the uneven bars, really picking it up with the late competitors, and now heading into the second rotation, much more momentum on their backs.
Absolutely. Brown going into the second rotation, they're really going to want to pick up the pace. They had a great warm-up, so they're just going to want to do what they did in warm-up here in competition, and that is performing strong vaults that they know they can land safely on their feet.
The Bears within a point after the first 2 competitors finished sub-9, one even clogging it at 7-4 due to repeated falls. It is now a margin of .85 separating the 2 teams.
Yale does move to their stronger event, the uneven bars. So this is where you actually might just see a larger separation gap in terms of the team's all-around score.
And this is a massive improvement for Yale from their event a week ago. During last week's event at LIU, they had a couple of rough goes at it, but now having gone through this first rotation, they have higher scores, better averages. In fact, everybody that just went for Yale finished 9-4-7-5 or better.
Again, Yale is putting on that pressure. They are definitely taking the mistakes and what they've learned in their first competition against LIU last weekend, and they're applying it here in this competition today.
And certainly serving them well, seeing as this is Brown's first competition of the year, first competition under the reign of Brittany Harris. She had a fantastic coaching career at Centenary College of Louisiana back in 2022. A couple of first-team All-Americans, 5 national qualifiers, and this was after a few years as an assistant at Lindenwood. So after some time down in the Southeast, making her way to the Northeast, officially completing the crisscross from her time as a collegiate gymnast at Oregon State. I was about to say Ohio State, but you were the Ohio State Buckeye.
Yes. And again, she had an exceptional career at Oregon State.
Sorry, go ahead.
Hey, as a gymnast for Oregon State, she qualified for the national championships as an individual. So again, she knows what to do to win, and that's what she's going to coach her girls here to do in this competition.
When you're taking over a new program and trying to get a feel of the competitors and trying to instill what you want in terms of the culture, how do you gauge where things are and then build off of that? Especially when you're in a situation where you're facing off against a team where they have competed. They've got some reps under their belt, and you're just kind of going fresh here.
You know, hey, it's just building that team culture, you know, just bonding. That's the greatest thing that a coach and athletes can do with each other. The greater the bond, the stronger you will be in competition. The more trust you will have with your teammates and with your coaches. And with trust, hey, you can conquer all things. So it's all about just building that bond. And Coach Harris, she has done an amazing job in doing that in her first season with the Bears.
Her first event just occurred over on the bars. Yale was on the vault. Both sides are now set to switch here in just a moment. We're almost done with the practice rounds. Yale getting their final warm-ups in. Brown is officially wrapped up with their practice go-arounds. Again, for Yale, the 6 competitors will be Oren Aviad, Sarah Wilson, Gigi Sabatini, Sherry Wong, Reagan Walker, and Caitlin Henry. Much of the same competitors, but for Brown, it'll be a little different. We'll tee that up when we come back here on ESPN+. Here at the JLA in New Haven, Yale finishing ahead through the first rotation after their round on the vault. Brown on the bar started slow but picked up steam. They are behind but not by much. As they switch sides, it'll be Yale on the bars and Brown on the vault in this second rotation on this Sunday afternoon in New Haven.
And it's important to note that Yale is moving to their stronger event, the uneven bars. After performing a strong first half on the vault, they're now moving to the uneven bars. And they're already in the lead.
Oren Aviad getting a roaring applause following her finish. Sophomore from Woodbridge, Connecticut, obviously right nearby. The huge cheering section. Meanwhile, Umi El Maman sticks it.
That was, hey, you can see she is excited about that vault. That was a great Yurchenko full twist. I think she may have landed out of bounds. I'm not sure. You can see she was a little off center onto the table, but she does safely perform that vault still and lands on her feet. That's a great first vault that you want your team to build off of.
Back-to-back New Haven County competitors for Yale and Brown respectively. Second up for the Bulldogs over on the bars, it's Sarah Wilson. She led the team over on the vault in the first rotation, finishing with a 9-8, the only all-around competitor for Yale today.
Sarah competing on all 4 events just talks about the type of caliber of gymnast she is.
She excelled on this event last week, finishing with a 9.825.
Beautiful handstand position. Strong Tawan Tkachev. If she sticks this dismount, it's going to score high, just as it did last week. Beautiful blindfold on top of the bars to a great dismount. Small step back, but that's definitely a 9-8 routine. Here's another look at that dismount. Beautiful blindfold over to immediate double tuck dismount. Small step back, but that was a great routine.
Angela Shing, the third competitor for Brown over on the vaults.
The Bears are really picking up the pace on this event. They did have a slow start on the uneven bars, but that was a beautiful Yurchenko full. And Brown has a difficulty on this event. For Yale, you did see different Yurchenko variations from a tuck fold to a layout half. It looks like all of the Brown Bears have that strong Yurchenko full twisting vault.
Still awaiting the third score. Looks like that'll clock in at a 9-7. That follows up a 9-4-2-5 from Lauren Kramer and a 9-7-2-5 from Umi El Maman a moment ago. So now Gigi Sabatini will step up for the Bulldogs. She finishes the highest score overall on the vault with a 9-8-2-5. Will that momentum carry here to the bars?
Huge Tkachev to immediate swing down to the low bar. Kind of overshot that blind change, but hey, she made that dismount around. Coach Andy said he wanted to go 24 for 24 today, and it looks like he is on his way of doing that.
Well, so far, 9 for 9.
And another strong vault from the Bears.
They're getting some momentum on their backs here. Strong run after strong run. Sophia Dewar, the freshman from Chula Vista, California, with a strong go around here. Again, just to clarify why some of the scores might be coming in faster than others, the computer is on the vault side of the room. The bars are on the opposite end with all the equipment in between, so the vault scores are coming in faster than the bar scores are tending to be entered, so we don't have the full complete picture yet as to where these two sides stand in this rotation specifically.
Yes, and vaulting is a quicker event. It takes about 10 seconds to complete. On the flexor side, you have almost 2 minutes. On the balance beam, you have almost just about 2 minutes. So again, vaulting scores will fly in because that is a quick competing event.
Yeah, so again, you see the score update there at the bottom. That is obviously a pretty incomplete picture, considering that that is accounting for 3 logged scores, whereas Yale just the one. That 9-5-2-5 coming from the first competitor, Oren Aviad, as it stands for Brown. A 9-7 from Angela Shing, a 9-7-2-5 from Umi El Maman, and a 9-4-2-5 from Lauren Kramer. Sherry Wong will get her turn here. Wong finishes one of the higher scores at LIU last weekend with a 9-7-7-5 on the uneven bars, finishing just behind Sarah Wilson.
Beautiful straddle Jaeger. Lands nicely on top of that bar. Here she is swinging big for her dismount.
Andy Lee's right there cheering her on, watching with care.
And a stuck full twisting double back off the uneven bars. That was a strong routine from... Here's another look at that dismount. Strong full twisting double back to a stuck dismount.
Lands to a raucous applause. Abby Contello.
Brown is a vaulting team. What can I say? Strong Yurchenko, full vaults. Here's one from Abby. Great block off the table. Nice body extension and just takes a step back.
Another strong go around after finishing as one of the better scores over on the bar. She had a 9-6-7-5 there. We're still waiting a good amount of the scores from Yale over on the bars, as Reagan Walker, the 5th of the 6 competitors in this event for the Bulldogs, getting ready to go.
Watching Reagan do gymnastics is like watching poetry in motion. She is someone who absolutely takes her time performing each and every skill. She doesn't rush, and that's what makes her gymnastics stand out, and that is what makes her gymnastics so beautiful to watch.
Abby Contello for Brown, who just vaulted a moment ago, Got credit for a 9.8, which is the highest score that Brown has logged so far on that event. Walker went 9.75.
Beautiful straddle Jaeger. I mean, you can't get any better than this. Open shoulders, great lines, toe point, no bent knees. I mean, she's just absolute textbook on this event. Strong double layout, and oh! I don't know if the judges would give it to her. I think I've seen a small hop on that dismount, but that was gorgeous. She just absolutely floats in the air. Strong body position, beautiful laid out, and takes the smallest hop forward. I think that just actually might be the highest scoring bar routine that we have seen of the day.
Yale doing an incredible job on the bars, and Julia Bedell wrapping it up for Brown on the vault and doing it in style.
Hey, that was and Reagan might have performed the best vault, but I think Julia has just performed the best vault. That was so clean. She was pencil straight in the air, takes a small hop backwards, but that is definitely going to be that has to be the highest scoring vault that we've seen. That was so beautiful. Absolutely clean in the air. Takes her time, blocks off that table.
And that it will be a 9.85. Not only the highest scoring vault, but the highest scoring single event that any competitor has logged today.
Hey, and she deserved it again. Close to textbook material that we've just watched.
Reagan Walker got a 9.75 over on the bars in her go around just a second ago. Caitlin Henry will wrap things up here. Senior from Newton, Massachusetts, being in her first event of the day. In fact, her only event.
And Caitlin, you know, it's such a pleasure to see her here in competition. She is recovering from an ACL tear, which is not an easy injury to overcome. Here she is getting up for a strong dismount and a double A. She kind of tumbles backwards, but hey, she's back in lineup after an ACL tear. That is huge. Here's another look at that dismount. She kind of lets go of the bar early, but she makes it to her feet. And she's happy. It's so, so, so good to see her back out on this competition floor.
And there will be one exhibitionist here for Brown, Ella Poley on the vault, before this second rotation comes to an official close. We'll see how that last go from Henry gets scored for Yale. But if the ones that are there stand, Brown will take this second rotation and they will pick up some ground heading into the third.
You know, this vault squad looks like a whole different team out here than what we've seen in the first rotation.
It's a different ball game, finishing with a 48-8. Again, still no score logged on the part of Caitlin Henry. It goes in as a 9.25, so that will be dropped. And Brown will take the second rotation, and the margin is now much thinner, down to 0.5, heading into the home stretch. It'll be Brown on the floor, Yale on the beam for the third rotation. A tight matchup here in the season opener for the Bears. Here at the JLA. 2 rotations down, 2 left to go here at the JLA in New Haven. Yale a very strong start and a good second event, but Brown picked up a lot of steam when they got their turn in the vault, and now it's really close as we head into the third rotation where Brown will be on floor, Yale will be on beam. Alongside Paris McGee Jr., Brandon Ross here with you. What impressed you the most about what we saw in the second?
On the Brown side, I think what impressed me the most was just the way they were able to come back. they did struggle in the first event, but the way they performed on vault, you would have never known. Those scores came out, they attacked their vault, and they really did trim the lead that Yale had going into the second rotation.
Brown definitely had some rust at the outset. This is their first competition of the season, but they quickly picked up steam once they got to a more comfortable event over on the vault, and it was capped off by an incredible run from Julia Bedell with an event best 9.85 to cap it off for the Bears.
Huge. And hey, on the Yale side, they came out the gate with pressure, and they've consistently put that pressure on the Bears.
Almost ready for the third rotation. It'll be Hannah Strauss to start for Yale, Lauren Lazaro to begin for Brown when we come back on ESPN+. Getting ready for the third rotation here at the JLA in New Haven. Brown coming off a really strong second when they got their turn at the vault. Picked up a lot of steam that they didn't quite have in their first go-around on the bars, and they sliced a margin that was almost a point down to 0.5.
They really, really did. And going into this third rotation, Yale is on the balance beam. The balance beam is a stronger event for that program. But again, anything can happen. And the balance beam is only 4 inches wide.
Where it'll really come down to, and what's really going to make this tantalizing, is that Yale quite mightily struggled on the floor at LIU. So that'll be an interesting point since that's capping it off. If Brown can hold firm on their floor and then keep that momentum towards the beam, it could be a photo finish here.
It could. Anything can happen. And again, it might just come down to, like you said, a photo finish.
Yale will be going with Hannah Strauss, Sarah Wilson, Claire Chu, Emma Mangiacapri, Reagan Walker, and Riley Meeks. For Brown on the floor, Lauren Lazaro, Sophia Dewar, Lauren Kramer, Maya Davis, Carol Ann Van Zant, and Julia Bedell. Notably, Bedell capped off the vault event with an incredible 9.85, which is the highest single score on any event today. She is the vault champion, and on bars, the champion was Astasalia Farrell.
This is going to be an interesting matchup going into this final and last half of the competition. With the Bears on the floor, Yale on the balance beam.
Hannah Strauss going first and getting this started. First year from Foster City, California. Finished with a 9.75 at LIU a week ago.
And a beautiful acro series. Anna just passed her first test here on this also tricky event. Beautiful front aerial to a split jump. She did pause in that connection, so I'm not sure if the judges will award her for that. But she is just a freshman, and it is not easy to lead off as a freshman on your event.
An initial struggle there on the initial landing a second ago, but this has overall been a strong beginning for Yale on this third event.
Absolutely, this is a very strong lead-off routine. Here she's getting ready for her dismount. And that was a huge dismount, a double twist off the balance beam. That's not something that you see too often in college gymnastics. Here it is again, a back handspring step up to a back handspring, immediate double twist, and perfectly plants that dismount. Coach did say that he will be expecting big things from this freshman, and he is getting that. We are all seeing that today.
Capping it off in style as Lauren Lazaro, who led off back on the bars, will look to well surpass that as she opens on the floor.
The floor exercise is all about performing. These gymnasts are going to be dancing and tumbling to some intricate choreography and music. Here she's already getting things started, pumping up the crowd and the judges.
Perhaps partially a nod to who she's competing against here today.
Beautiful opening pass. Floor exercise is such a crowd pleaser because you're really able to captivate the audience and the judges. You can see her getting her teammates and her coaches involved in her choreography on the side. And a beautiful second pass. You know, this music makes me want to just go out there and dance right with her. Such a great routine. Huge opening showing for the Bears on the floor exercise.
Strauss had set the bar high on the beam, and Lauren Lazaro answered the call for Brown.
Again, this is going to be a very tough competition. Here's another look at that opening pass. A strong double pike. Beautiful landing. Coach Harris was certainly happy about that pass.
As we await the scores from the first go-around, here's Sarah Wilson, who's had a very good day for Yale so far. 9-8 on the vault, 9-7-5 on the bars.
And a very difficult front tuck on the balance beam. That's not an easy skill to do. Again, anytime you're flipping forwards, you are landing blindly, which means you're not able to securely see the floor as you're coming down to land.
9-5-7-5 is what gets put in for Hannah Strauss's lead off go here on the beam.
And she fights to stay on in that acro series. Here she is now, gearing up for her. Ooh. Oh, and she just falls off. With this fall, Yale will look to hopefully throw away this routine with stronger routines to come. And she sticks that dismount, but she was actually very close to almost hitting the beam again. That is a gainer style dismount, which means that you do kind of flip back in place, but she was a little close to that beam, it seemed, but she landed safely. And a strong finish after coming off the beam.
The pressure now goes on to the rest of the competitors to really pick up the slack, if you will, because if that score has to be counted, then that could vault Brown neck and neck heading into the final rotation.
Absolutely, absolutely. Every routine and every score counts from here on out in the competition.
Sophia Dewar is next up onto the floor for Brown. Freshman from Chula Vista, California. Back-ending Lauren Lazaro's rendition of Who Let the Dogs Out.
You can see her teammates in the back dancing with her. Floor is all about showing that personality. The gymnasts are able to pick their own music, choreograph their own routines, and really have some fun out there in the floor. That's what it's all about.
Lauren Lazaro's lead-off go-around in this event was a 9-4-7-5. compared to Strauss's 9.575 on the beam. And what will go down for Sarah Wilson on the beam is an 8.85. So that's certainly a score that Yale is going to want to try and surpass. And Dewar definitely has a comfort level with what she's performing to right now.
Absolutely, and you should. It's your routine. You're going to want to perform it as best as you can so those judges know that you own this routine on this event.
Taking a look back at that floor routine from Sophia Dewar, as Yale now has a lot of ground to pick back up. See if the sophomore from Fremont, California. Ooh, close there.
Close, but she fights to stay on. Claire is also coming back from an ACL tear just like Caitlin. That was a beautiful sheep jump, extremely difficult to do. To see Claire back in this lineup is huge. She is overcoming injury. You can see that knee brace on her left knee. She's pacing through this routine very smoothly.
And she prepares to dismount.
And she sticks it. Yeah, there are so mature on this event. I mean, talk about pressure. Each and every gymnast can really put down an amazing routine no matter what happens before or after them. And that's what I love about Yale on the balance beam. They're very mature. They know how to perform and compete well.
3 left for each side in this third rotation. Back to Brown on the floor with Maya Davis. Trying to make her bar routine a thing of the past. The junior from Downers Grove, Illinois, due to a couple of falls, only logged a 7.4 back on the bars. That is the score that was dropped. Or check that, it'll be Lauren Kramer. Maya Davis, I mixed up the order here. My apologies. Davis will be 4th. Kramer up now. Went 9.425. Back on the vaults. As it stands going into this event, Yale has the lead, but it is thinning. Brown so far has logged the 9.475 from Lazaro and a 9.35 from Sophia Dewar. Now seems we're just about ready for Kramer.
And this is where those pressure routines that Coach Harris was talking about earlier prior to the competition come into play. It's not easy having to wait for the judges to throw up that green flag for you to perform. At times when you do have to wait like this, it kind of adds more pressure and it kind of builds the nerves.
Score was just updated for Dewar, what she did a moment ago, to a 9.55, so that is certainly helpful in the Brown camp as Kramer is set to go.
A little short on that first pass. Almost as if it looked like she kind of buckled her knees and kind of struggled to rebound after that layout skill that she performed. She just falls again.
A couple times falling up short now for Kramer in this go around here on the floor.
More than anything, I'm glad she was just able to finish her routine. I know going into that floor exercise routine that she just performed, it wasn't easy. She did have to wait a little bit and wait for the judges to update the previous score. And in doing so, that's where nerves can sometimes kind of build in. Pressure can sometimes add.
And that certainly plagued Brown a lot more than Yale today. A lot of extended waiting for the Bears before their routines are set to go.
Absolutely. So it's a good thing that Coach Harris was practicing on pressure type routines, because unfortunately they had to face a lot of pressure in this competition.
Emma Mangia-Capri, fourth competitor on the beam for Yale. Again, trying to keep things up after the 8.85 from Sarah Wilson.
And that was a strong aggro series.
Getting the ball rolling in a big way.
Absolutely. Yale is strong on this event. So even with a fall, every gymnast that goes up knows how to continue well and perform strong. Beautiful front aerial combination. And a great dismount, small hop forward. But yeah, they are building off of that fall routine. And with more strong routines to come, they can most definitely throw away that routine from Sarah Wilson.
Still 2 to go on the beam for Yale. Now Maya Davis will get her turn on the floor for Brown. I mentioned a few minutes ago, before that extended wait for Lauren Kramer, Davis did not compete on the vault, but back on the bars, had a couple of falls and ended up with a 7-4, the score that was thrown away. Trying to wash that thought away with the strong performance here. So what are you looking to see from her here? How do you recover from an event like that where it definitely fell far short of what you expected?
You know, the best way to recover is just to trust your training. You know, again, you train in the gym constantly for hours. You've already put good routines in training underneath your belt. So now just do it in competition. Don't overthink anything. Don't overdo anything. Just go out there, have fun, and do what you do in training and competition. And if Maya does that, she can come out with a strong routine on the floor.
Brown once again getting plagued with a problem that has been pretty persistent today, being held to a very, very long wait to go.
Yeah, I'm not sure what is going on. It looks like the judges might have a judging discrepancy between their two scores.
Well, that is certainly going to be one they're going to try to throw away. We can't see both of them One card is blocked by the Brown team for our vantage point, but one just went up with a 7-4-5. Not unexpected based on how the routine went for Lauren Kramer, but now it puts a little more pressure here on Maya Davis.
And Maya is a beautiful gymnast. She was a very beautiful gymnast on the uneven bars who had exceptional lines. And that's what we can look for here in this floor exercise routine. She's very expressive, as you can see. Takes every moment in getting into that opening pose. And a beautiful opening pass. She's such a joy to watch. Honestly, as soon as her music starts, she just captivates your attention, and she keeps it.
You can see that jolt of energy pop into her when the music started playing. She is holding very firm on this routine right now. Gearing up for her second pass.
Again, she's so beautiful to watch on this event. Her music reminds me of the 1997 world champion, Svetlana Horkina, a Russian great and gymnastics icon. And that is how you perform a floor routine. I mean, just talk about artistry. Not many college gymnasts today perform the way she just did. From beginning to end, I mean, it was just captivating. Great music choice. Absolutely beautifully expressive and extremely artistic. That is what I look for when it comes to gymnastics. A gymnast like Maya.
Perhaps they're the only even inkling of any kind of a hiccup. What was a strong performance for the sophomore from Brooklyn. When the Bears needed someone to step up, she was there to answer the call. Still two left for each side. Now Reagan Walker's turn on the beam for the Bulldogs.
Reagan was my favorite gymnast on this event last year, and inauguravely, I think she's going to be my favorite again this year. What I love about her gymnastics is that she takes her time. She doesn't rush, just like she did there, a beautiful acro series.
Patient approach.
Beautiful combination. That is how you connect a skill front area to a split jump. Beautiful leap jump series. I mean, again, she's that gymnast that you just want on your team. She's consistent, she is clean, and she knows how to compete. And that is a great dismount. It's new this year. She had to bump up her difficulty in her dismount because of the new rule change. But she does it well. Great back handspring to immediate gainer, side gainer, dismount on the balance beam.
Yale continuing to log strong performances here on the beam. After Sarah Wilson had her fall, Bulldogs had the pressure on. Thus far, it has not fazed them. Caroline Van Zant now will be the 5th competitor on the floor for Brown. As Yale is performing well on the beam, one of their stronger events. This is a time where the Bears are going to have to keep up the pace. Trying to follow up Maya Davis, who logged a 9.6 just a few moments ago.
And a great first pass. She does step out of bounds. But she's off to a good start.
Getting cheered on by her teammates. They are loving it over on the Brown bench.
As they should. This is a great routine. And possibly so far, if she can land this pass well, the highest scoring routine from the Bears of today. Oh, and she just holds on to that last pass a little too long. That was a great routine. But she does take a fall.
That'll hurt, especially after the 7.45 from Lauren Kramer. That'll definitely put a dent in the scoring. Still one competitor left to go for each side in this third rotation. Yale will cap off on the beam with Riley Meeks, while Julia Bedell gets ready on the floor. Senior from Ann Arbor, Michigan.
And this Michigan native is good on this event. She was very consistent last season. Beautiful acro series. She competes with confidence on this event, and that's very important to have on the balance beam.
Poised. It's the second fall on the beam for Yale, so one of them will have to count. Sort of a kind and kind now between the floor and the beam.
Yes, and that this is a little very uncharacteristic actually for her on this event. But again, it's early in the season, so mistakes like this, you want them to happen in your first couple of competitions, especially with this only being the second competition for Yale this season.
And the first one at home after this Yale flight down to Chapel Hill, North Carolina.
Beautiful dismount, strong finish. Hey, it wasn't her best routine, but she knows she's capable of more. So I know Coach Andy, I know her teammates are not worried because she is a strong anchor for this team on the balance beam.
Final routine of the third rotation as Riley Meeks decompresses from her go on the beam. Julia Bedell will cap off the floor for the Bears.
And a beautiful open pass. That same power you saw from Julia on the vault, she has here on the floor.
Well, she is certainly living up to the song title, at least out of the gate here on her floor routine. Last competitor on this event for Brown. With a couple of falls, wanting to cap off with a strong score before heading into the final rotation. Moving very in sync.
Here she's getting ready for that last pass. A little short, but she lands it on her feet.
Well, nothing wrong with her confidence there.
Nothing wrong. A great routine for the Bears on this event. Definitely the last type of routine that you're going to want going into the final rotation.
Good way to end off on the floor for Brown. Both sides will have an exhibitionist decide. Gigi Sabatini will go for Yale on the beam right now. Ella Poli preparing to run on the floor for Brown as we await the tabulation of the final score here for the Bears. And they'll likely be pretty close.
And Gigi is having the day here today in competition. In her first events, she performed very well. Here she is exhibitioning, getting that experience on the balance beam in competition.
Sabatini has had a great day so far. A 9.825 on the vault, 9.6 on the bars. Certainly making an impact early here in her college career.
And a beautiful dismount, back 1.5. Again, that is a blind landing. Anytime you land forwards in gymnastics, that means that you are landing in a position where you're not able to see your feet. And in a way, you're playing a guessing game.
Final scores have tabulated for this third rotation, I should say. We still got one more to go. But it is a 47-8 for Yale on the beam, a 47-2 on the floor for Brown. So that has provided some much-needed cushion for the Bulldogs, up 1.1 heading into the final rotation as we're set to see this final routine from the exhibitionist Ella Poli. Happened up with some strong song choices, I must say.
Absolutely, and that's what college gymnastics is all about. Gymnasts will go out there and perform with some strong music choices, complemented with great choreography. There's a little change of tempo in that music.
2 song changes.
Hey, this might be an exhibition routine, but she is getting ready to compete in the real lineup pretty soon. Here she's getting ready for that last pass. Brown back handspring, strong double tuck. She lands it on her feet. Hey, with a routine like that, she just might be in lineup next weekend.
Still one rotation here to go in New Haven this afternoon, though. Yale picking up some ground in the third with a 47-8 on the beam, up 1.1 as they switch from floor or beam to floor and then vice versa. Three rotations down and 1 to go. Yale just competed on the beam, Brown on the floor, and the Bulldogs picked up some much-needed cushion heading into the final rotation, Paris.
They did. In this last rotation, I mean, Yale has to just perform well to win. I know last week they may have struggled, but again, this is a different team that we are seeing today. So if they put on some strong routines, they will be the home champions.
Reagan Walker with a strong performance for Yale. She finishes as the team leader with a 9.75. Bulldogs picking up some much-needed strong performances after Sarah Wilson took a fall during her event, finishing with an 8.85, and they lead the third rotation by a half a point, actually 0.6 points in the end of it, and as such, now they own a 1.1 point lead heading into this final event. What are you going to be looking for?
You know, for the Bears, I'm just going to be looking for consistently. They're just going to want to finish this competition very strong. And for the Bulldogs, they're going to want to do the same thing. They started strong. Now it's going to be important that they can keep up that pace and finish today's competition as strong as they started.
For Yale, it'll be Hannah Strauss, Lauren Holt, Sarah Wilson, Megan Brueck, Riley Meeks, and Sherry Wong on the floor. For Brown on the beam, Lauren Lazaro, Maya Davis, Lauren McEwen, Liza Marcus, Angela Shing, and Abby Contello, with Lauren Kramer and Sophia Dewar logging as exhibitionists. Those are all coming up next as we head into the final rotation on ESPN+. Yale preparing for floor, Brown preparing for beam. Final rotation here at the John J. Lee Amphitheater here in New Haven, Connecticut, on the campus of Yale University. Yale with a 1.1 point cushion heading into this final rotation, and alongside Paris McGee Jr., Brandon Ross here with you. We're looking for, like you said before the break, consistency, especially given on the end of Brown, not only their first competition of the season, first competition under Brittany Harris as head coach, and certainly not a bad start for trying to build going forward.
Absolutely not. I mean, they have a good team with very, very strong competitors. They do have the difficulty on each of the apparatuses, so now they just have to learn how to do it in competition, how to secure their routines well enough to really do well and win.
Well, after this for Brown, Brittany Harris will definitely feel comfortable with their next opponent. They'll be making the trip cross-country to her alma mater, Oregon State in Corvallis, Oregon, and that should be a fun reunion as they get ready to take on Denver and Sacramento State there.
The Bears are definitely going to want to take their mistakes of this competition and learn from them heading over to the West Coast.
Going through who will be competing on these events for each of the teams. Again, for Yale on the floor, it'll be Hannah Strauss, Lauren Holtz, Sarah Wilson, Megan Brueck, Riley Meeks, and Sherry Wong. For Brown on the beam, Lauren Lazaro, Maya Davis, Lauren McEwen, Liza Marcus, Angela Shing, and Abby Conzello, with Lauren Kramer and Sophia Dewar exhibitioning. Lauren Lazaro with Brittany Harris looking on. Starts off her beam routine. Lazaro's coming off a pretty strong floor event, finishing with a 9.475.
And here she is starting off strong on the balance beam.
This is without question probably the area where the Brown roster has the most experience. Many of the vets specializing on the beam.
And that's what's special about the upperclassmen, the veterans. They're really able to shape and help set the tone for the younger underclassmen on the apparatuses. Hey, and a great start-off routine. Again, the Bears just really want to be consistent on this event and finish strong. And with that routine, they are set to do just that.
Plenty of applause on the Brown side for Lazaro's opening performance on the beam. And Hannah Strauss gets started here for Yale.
Oh, and she just falls on that first pass. That is very difficult to do, however. A back 2.5 punch front. Anna is just a freshman, and it is not easy leading off your event as a freshman. She comes into this competition with only one competition ever of collegiate experience. So she is doing a very good job today and performing very well.
She performed very well last weekend. It will not be the same story with that fall, but nonetheless, certainly a strong showing out the gate for Yale. They have a comfortable margin, but that can go away in the blink of an eye.
There's another look at that strong last pass. A good finish for Anna. She's definitely going to improve next weekend. And again, she's just a freshman. This is only her second competition ever in college gymnastics. So she has a lot to build to and look forward to.
Maya Davis, who had the second best routine on the floor for Brown, gets going with her turn on the beam.
And again, she is a very expressive gymnast. And in many ways, she defines artistic gymnastics. That was a beautiful acro series. Like Reagan from Yale, what I love about this gymnast is that she takes her time. She doesn't rush her movements, but she completes every skill from her acro series to the flick of her wrist.
There's a good save there to avoid a fall.
And a beautiful dismount. Stuck Pike Gainer off the end of the beam. Here's another look at that dismount. Gainer Pike to stuck dismount. Such a beautiful gymnast, such a great routine. That's going to score.
That is certainly a dismount that'll win her some favor.
Absolutely. You can see her dancing. So excited.
2 down on the beam for Brown, 1 down on the floor for Yale. Second competitor, Lauren Holtz, is stepping up now. Notably, no issues with being forced to wait.
No, not on Yale's side.
And obviously, it doesn't paint the full picture, but how much do you think that may have accounted for some of the slip-ups?
I do think that accounted much, especially with this being the first competition of the season. I know from experience it's not easy to wait for a judge to give you that green light. Great first pass for a handspring double front twist. I love her song choice of music. Great second pass. She's just out there and she's having fun. And again, that's what the floor exercise is all about. Performing well, getting the audience and the judges captivated and involved.
Livening up not just her teammates, but the entire crowd here with her routine.
And a great finish. Four more routines like that, and I think Yale just might take this competition.
A strong showing from Lauren Holtz.
Another look at that first pass, a difficult front double twist. Not an easy pass to do. There's that last pass, back 1.5 punch front layout.
Brown so far has brought their A game on the beam. A 9-7 from Lauren Lazaro, a 9-6-7-5 from Maya Davis. And it is now Lauren McEwen's turn.
The Bears are looking solid on this event. They are laser focused and extremely confident to finish strong.
Just like the two that preceded her, McCune has been crisp. And as I say that, first fall of the beam for Brown. But McCune keen to regain her balance and composure. As the dismount is pure.
That was a beautiful dismount. That was such a good routine. And she just fell. But again, it's only their first competition. So they're definitely going to build off of the routines that they're performing today.
Plenty of room to go, plenty of room to grow, and plenty of time to do it, a whole season ahead of them. As you can see, Sarah Wilson, the only all-around competitor, the 8.85, her most recent score from the beam, trying to put that in the rearview mirror. That's one way to do it.
And a beautiful pass. She just floats that back 1.5 to that punch front layout. What I love about Sarah the most in her gymnastics is that she's just so aggressive. She doesn't leave anything for those judges. She just puts everything out on the floor, and it definitely shows.
She had the team high on the floor last weekend at LIU and is starting and seems set to finish on that kind of pace. Hello.
And a nice double pike. Oh, I love that.
There was a hiccup in the middle, but she caps off her afternoon in style.
She does. And hey, she has a lot to be proud of. She went 3 for 4. It's not easy competing in the all-around, especially early in the season, but she's doing it, and she's doing it well. Here's another look at that first huge pass. She just floats that back 1.5. And that final pass, a little short of that double pike, but she lands on her feet.
Liza Marcus, the freshman from New York City, up now for Brown, and just manages to save herself.
She's fighting. This competition, the Bears have been fighting on each apparatus. Huge front tuck. That is an extremely difficult skill to do on the balance beam.
And a key note that Lauren McCune was able to pretty well recover herself despite the fall. Finished with a 9.175.
She's a very clean gymnast. She's a very clean gymnast, and the Bears, they are clean gymnasts on this event.
It is certainly one of strength.
Liza is definitely a fighter, and she's fighting through this routine. Here she is going for her dismount. Round off back 1.5. Small hop, but she finishes well. Another look at that dismount. Round off back 1.5. Doesn't set so much and almost looked like she kind of locked her leg, but again, she landed safely. She landed on her feet. And she finished strong after coming off the beam.
And a quick conference for Megan Brueck, the first year from Cincinnati, Ohio, prepares for her routine. This is her first event she is competing in today after exhibitioning back on the vaults. And now Yale's getting a little taste of the Brown medicine, being subject to a weight. But what has impressed you the most about this Brown team? Obviously having to get used to a new coach, a new culture. What stood out about how they performed today?
Honestly, what stood out was how they performed. It's not easy performing, with a new head coach coming in and new freshmen coming in. You're still learning each other. Again, I talked about trust, so you're still learning how to trust your teammates and your coaches and the whole bond. But hey, they're competing well, and honestly, I would not have known that this is their first year with Coach Harris. They've done a great job today in competition. They have definitely fought in their routines, and that's what has impressed me the most, their fight.
The judges seem to be conferencing about Sarah Wilson's floor routine. In terms of the scoring, we are still waiting input on what that wound up being, as Megan Brueck is being left to wait to start her floor as well. Just 3 competitors left for Yale on the floor. They do not have any exhibitionists. Brown will have 2 after their 6 are done on the beam. Again, next up for each of these sides are road trips. Yale 1 week from tomorrow heading down to North Carolina, facing off at UNC with University of Wisconsin Stout, and then Brown heading out west to Corvallis, Oregon for a meet at Oregon State on Saturday. Denver and Sacramento State will also be competing there as this conference continues on and seems almost ready to come to a conclusion. Just when you think they're about done, they're not quite yet. How annoying is it as a competitor to wait for these kind of things?
Again, it's frustrating. I understand the judges have a job to do, and the rules are constantly changing. So on the judges' end, it's not always easy. But as a competitor, it's very, very difficult. Again, we train to compete. We don't necessarily train to wait and get cold, as we say.
The conference has now finally broken up, and Angela Shing is definitely taking advantage of the time allotted to her to get some extra warm-up on the beam. Brooke, though, has been kind of left stranded. And now she'll get to go. Looking to surpass her performance of 8-6 on the floor at LIU. 1 weekend to go.
And just a little short of that opening double tuck pass, she does put her hands down, which does count as a fall.
Getting some cheers nearby from Reagan Walker.
Strong last pass. I know this wasn't the routine she was hoping to perform today, but she is just a freshman. Still very new early in the season.
That's now a couple of performances that did not quite break Yale's way here on the floor, which is not usually their strongest event. Beam is far stronger, and that's the case with Brown as well. Angela Shing into her routine.
And a great aggro series. Rarely do you see a gymnast on the balance beam in college gymnastics perform a layout to 2 feet. And again, another strong skill. She is just performing huge difficulty on this last event for the Bears.
Shing had a very strong vault performance. A 9-7 for the Bears, back all the way in that second rotation.
And a great double twist dismount. One of the more harder dismounts in this competition that we've seen today. She does take a step to the side, but this dismount is not easy to do. Twisting twice in the air, takes that step to the side. But again, as you can see, that was a good routine, and she is excited and relieved.
One competitor left in each event. Or check that. 2 left on the floor for Yale, 1 left on the beam for Brown. Riley Meeks getting a pep talk from Oren Aviad right now. Had herself a strong day back in the first 2 rotations. Her day is done. The senior from Ann Arbor, Michigan, looking to put this one in the bag.
And I love her opening. She actually opens up with an OG, I would say, compulsory music and choreography. Great opening pass. Oh my gosh, the way she opens that routine, that was huge. Big tribute to the older gymnast.
A solid floor routine so far. She goes into her second pass. Can't quite nail the landing though.
A little short of that double pike. Doesn't get the amplitude that she needs to make that tumbling pass around. With that routine counting towards Yale's overall team score, there is a potential that the Bears could possibly close the gap even more.
And again, you look back at some of the other routines. Megan Bruick had an 8.825. Strauss opened up with a 9.075, and that might have closed the door on a comeback.
I think it just did. Unfortunately, she steps off the beam, which will be a larger deduction.
McEwen, when she fell off earlier in this event, was able to salvage a 9.175, but that doesn't seem accomplishable in this situation, given what just occurred.
No, I would have to agree. She is moving very well, strongly. That was a beautiful front aerial. But again, every score counts in this last rotation. And with that fall, a comeback win just might be hard to achieve.
So it looks like Riley Meeks logged a 9:05, which would mean that that is a counting score. Contello caps off her event well.
Beautiful stuck dismount. If she would have stayed on, that would have been a huge score. But nonetheless, this is the first competition for the Bears. Here's that dismount again, huge dismount. Stuck landing. Great way to finish and come back from a fall in that routine.
Sherry Wong, the junior from Austin, Texas, will cap off today's proceedings for Yale.
And a huge double pike open. She does step out of bounds. But that was a huge, beautiful opening pass.
Not much is needed here. .8825 is the lowest score for Yale right now.
Strong second pass, stays in bounds.
From the looks of it, just a 9-1 will do.
If she lands on her feet in this final pass, she will secure a win for Yale in their second competition of the season.
Andy Lease egging her on, and she does stay on her feet.
It was a close one, but she stays on, and I think the Yale Bulldogs take this competition today.
With all the scores on Brown's beam in, they're at 191.225, Yale at 190.975. So that's a separated margin of .250, which means all Yale would need is a 9.175 on this to secure the win, or rather, they just have to surpass that to secure the win, and that seems likely. Seeing Lauren Kramer, exhibition here with Sophia Dewar to follow.
Oh, and I love that. Very rarely do you see gymnasts today perform skills like that.
And with matching 9-6s on each judge's scorecard, that will do it, and Yale will take this competition. It is their first team victory of the season, coming in their second meet, and it is certainly a good stepping stone to head towards the rest of the campaign.
And a beautiful dismount to a great exhibition routine. Kramer did an exceptional job. And with a strong exhibition routine like that, it's very possible she can be in the beam lineup soon.
So it seems like Sophia Dewar will not go on her exhibition routine, and that'll be a wrap. Yale takes a team victory by .525 points. A victory over Brown here today. And as the events cap off, the winners on the events individually, Julia Bedell with her 9.7 takes the floor title, and Reagan Walker with her 9.75 takes the beam title. And, you know, even though they didn't win the team event, the fact that Brown takes 3 of the 4 individual events is certainly a strong message.
Absolutely. coming into this competition today, you know, it was their first competition with a new team head coach, new group of freshmen. So it was a lot of newness. And the Bears, they definitely stood to the test.
Yale wins the team competition. Brown takes 3 of the 4 on individual titles. We'll wrap this all up in a moment on ESPN+. But in the end, Yale held on, winning by a margin of .525, taking their first team victory of the year. Meanwhile, Brown, in their opening competition of the 2023 season, winds up with 3 of the 4 individual event champions. And Paris, that's certainly something for the Brown Bears to be happy about as they head off to the West Coast next weekend.
Absolutely. It was their first competition of the season, so they definitely came into this competition with a lot of nerves, but going into next week, I'm very sure that those nerves will be shaken off, and they will be ready to face the teams out on the West Coast next weekend.
Sarah Wilson takes the all-around title by default to being the only all-around competitor. Julia Bedell took vaults with a 9.85. Uneven bars won by Astasolia Farrell on Brown with the 9.85 as well. The beam taken by Reagan Walker for Yale, the only event title for a Bulldog with a score of 9.75. And Julia Bedell securing the floor title with a 9.7. Sarah Wilson, you see right there, a team high 9.65, finishing in second. So what do you think, looking at Yale, they're going to be looking to improve the most heading into their next event at UNC next week?
Definitely they're going to be looking to improve their floor. It was a weaker event for them last week against LIU. It was a little troublesome for them today, so they're definitely going to be able to look for big improvements on that event. Otherwise, they came to the competition strong, so they just have to focus on finishing it very strong.
That next event will be a week from tomorrow, 6 p.m. start at the University of North Carolina, where Wisconsin Stout will also be competing. And then Brown will also head on the road next weekend. They will visit Oregon State, the alma mater of head coach Brittany Harris, where they will also be dueling with Denver and Sacramento State. In just a moment, the awards will be presented, and Paris, I think you and I can agree that we saw definitely some strong competitors today. Who impressed you the most?
There were a lot of people that impressed me the most. Sarah Wilson, she was the only gymnast competing in the all-around. That's definitely huge. Reagan Walker, she's been a phenomenal gymnast ever since she came on. Here she is, a senior, still showing up strong for the Bulldogs. And then you had a lot of people on Brown, too. Maya was the artistic gymnast that I talked about earlier. Exceptional lines. She definitely stands out in her gymnastics. So there were a lot of people on both teams that performed very well, and everyone should be very proud.
And for Andy Lease, his first team victory with the full head coach title attached to his name, and certainly a strong start for this 2023 season.
Absolutely. Coach Andy stepped in last year as interim head coach, and he did a phenomenal job with these Yale Bulldogs. He's back as the official head coach, and hey, he's doing his thing. These Bulldogs look good today. They did have some things to work out, but again, it's only the second competition of the season, and I stress that enough because as the year progresses, the teams definitely do a greater job in competing.
Meanwhile, for Providence and head coach Brittany Harris, it will not be a somber trip back to Providence. It's a short ride anyway, but certainly a lot to hang their hat on from what they saw here today. Strong individual performances and oh so close, and probably could have pulled it off if not for a couple of late falls on the beam.
And I think that's what impressed me the most about this Browns team was that they kind of came to the competition with big struggles, and they kind of somewhat struggled throughout the competition today, but as you see, they still only took the loss by such a slim margin. So you can only imagine how strong this team could be when they actually do hit.
So they're announcing the top 3 performers in the respective events right now. They're going through the vault where Sarah Wilson finished third, Gigi Sabatini second for Yale, and Julia Bedell won it with a score of 9.85, taking the individual title for Brown. Should also know Abby Cantello tied for third on the vault. They're going through the uneven parallel bars now. Sherry Wong and Sarah Wilson on Yale tied for third. Reagan Walker secured second place with a 9.825. And then Asta Solia Farrell, who's about to take her bow, a 9.85. Not only the highest score on this event, tied for the highest score of any single performance with Bedell's 9.85 on the vaults as well. They're now going over to announce the beam victors. It was a tie for third in this event as well. There was a tie for third in every single event. Yale and Brown splitting third place between Emma Mangia Capri, 9.675, sharing that with Maya Davis. Lauren Lazaro with a 9.7 secured second place. And Yale about to get announced its only individual event title winner, as Reagan Walker with a 9.75 secured the beam. And it'll now go to the floor where Julia Bedell was victorious with a 9.7. A two-way tie between Sherry Wong and Maya Davis for third as well with a 9.6. Sarah Wilson getting a 9.65 on the floor for second place. So you look at Wilson's overall performance, aside from the beam where she had that stumble, finishing top three in all the other events.
Again, Sarah Wilson, she's a strong competitor. And the fact that she's competing all four today speaks about her caliber of gymnastics.
And she will now take her bow for all around as the only one to compete in all four events and performing very strongly in the three that were counted.
Such a huge asset to this Bulldog team.
And now they are going to announce Yale as the team victor by the slimmest of possible margins. Well, not the slimmest of possible margins, but a very slim margin nonetheless. Strong performance closing out at the end. It was a little bit of a seesaw. Brown was gaining some steam, but they got some cushion with a good beam and some lucky breaks on the floor as well. Again, Yale can take this victory on the road with them next weekend. Well, actually next week. It'll be a Monday night showdown at UNC, where UW Stat will also be competing. Brown heads west to take on Oregon State, Denver, and Sacramento State in Corvallis, Oregon on Saturday. And that'll do it for us here at the JLA in New Haven this afternoon. For my partner, Paris McGee Jr., our producer, Stephanie Doheny, and our entire crew here on the campus of Yale University, I'm Brandon Ross saying so long. Yale takes the team title in this first home event in New Haven, Connecticut.